Well, hello and welcome to this special broadcast right here on CNBC-TV18. Now, Meta, across the family of products and services, counts India as one of its largest markets. We're looking at over 1 billion users in India. So how is Meta thinking about India? What does it mean for deployment of new technologies such as AI? What are the learnings from India? And what are the trends that we can expect from India going forward? To help us answer some of these questions is with us Nicola for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. You're, of course, the VP of Global Business Group at Meta. It's a pleasure hosting you here. I was reading up about you. That was an interesting experience in itself. I saw some of the podcasts and the interactions that you've done. Interestingly, let's begin with the characterization of the business per se. You mentioned that, yes, Meta at the heart of it is a tech company, and that's how most of us look at Meta. But you also said that it is also the business of Meta is the business of advertising. And that you said when you were making that leap from advertising to Meta. Give us a sense. Is it a tech company? Is it an advertisement company?
First off, it's absolutely fantastic to be here with you today. And I'm thrilled to be back in this amazing country. I love coming here. Meta is a tech company. It's got tech and innovation right at the very heart. And it has since the very first day it opened 20 years ago. But it is true that the financial aspect of our business is actually coming from advertising. But tech is actually what we are at the heart.
Let's talk about tech then. I think any conversation about tech isn't complete without talking about AI. That's the buzzword. We're all talking about it for the better part of, I believe, the last 24 months. Give us an indication that if you were to gaze into a crystal ball, 2 to 3 years down the line, what are some of these AI use cases that India can look at, that India can expect a couple of years down the line? It's a fast-evolving technology, but you're the best person who has a grip on the pulse of things. So tell us what AI looks like a couple of years from now.
So there's a lot of questions in there. So let me kind of pull them apart a little bit. First off, yes, AI is having a moment. Lots of people are talking about it. But actually, from a Meta perspective, we've been talking about it and investing in it since the very earliest days of Newsfeed, 2006, 2007. But it is an area that, if you like, we've been supercharging in recent times. And I think it's important to understand how we use AI at the company as well. So 3 main buckets. First off, we use it to show you the content that's most relevant to you. That's the content that you're really going to enjoy. The stuff from your friends and your families. We use AI also to take away bad stuff, things that we don't want on the platform and you don't want either. And then we're also utilizing it for the very best way to give our advertisers the strongest performance. That's all powered by AI as well. Now, one of the things that we shared recently is our investments that we've been making in Llama. Llama, our large language model. And we shared now that we've had over 350 million downloads of that, which is exciting. And that's also powering Meta AI. And we've now put Meta AI at the very top of people's Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. And the exciting thing from an India perspective is that India is actually leading the world in the number of people that are utilizing Meta AI. And we've said ourselves, and we believe that by the end of this year, that we're actually going to be the largest AI assistant anywhere on the planet because of the nature of how people are engaging. So this is all really exciting. From an India perspective as well, we're also seeing some really exciting applications of people that are building on top of Llama as well. So there's an amazing company, educational company, Arriviera, which is actually looking at how it can get education out there. And because of what they're able to do now with the AI, they're able to respond, and they've sent out over 1 million personalized responses. That's incredible, because that's not something that, can you imagine how many people it would take to kind of get to that level? That has an implication for how it's going to change education right here in India, because they're able to do something of a scale like that. So these are just some of the very early examples that we're seeing, but there's so many more as well we can talk about.
In fact, there's so much excitement there. But it's interesting that you talk about some of these AI models, which in fact leads into my next question to you, that at a time when there's a great deal of pitched debate about open source AI models versus proprietary models, which of the two would you bet on to make AI more mainstream, especially in a complex market like India?
Yeah, so we're all in on open. And actually, openness has really been at the heart of Meta since the early days. When we're building data centers, we're sharing out the plans for that. And so it is that we think about this technology as well, which is we believe that when you are open, it leads to greater transparency. It allows others to develop with you together, and therefore all boats rise at the same time. It also allows more people to scrutinize and to be able to see different aspects that maybe one might not see. So yeah, it's very much an openness approach from our side.
Let's talk about some of the concerns around AI as well. And I come to you asking you this question in 2024, an election year across a lot of leading democracies. Questions were being raised, if I talk about the Indian administration in context of synthetic content and about the role that it plays, especially in context of disinformation, misinformation, at a time when people are making critical decisions. How do we address this issue?
Yeah, so what we're finding actually now with AI is that the issues, as you talk about it, are not very different to the issues that we've been seeing on our, if you like, known knowns. So misinformation, to your point, well, misinformation is misinformation anywhere. And we're very clear about what is allowed and what isn't allowed on our platforms. So if something was created, whether it was created with AI or it was put out there not by AI, and it went against our policies, well, we would just take it down. The other aspect that we look at is that we work with both internal experts and external experts, if you like, to red team our approaches in here. But there's also a thing around, there's a lot of worries around this technology, as there are around many technologies. So we'll stay vigilant, but actually some of the concerns here are way ahead of where the technology is today.
Sounds interesting. Let's drive the focus back to advertising. Let's talk about it in the Indian context. What are some of the trends that you're seeing here in the Indian advertising space, and what is the trajectory for growth from 2024 onwards?
Yeah, so we're seeing huge innovation happening here. And I would probably call on three key areas to focus on to talk today. One is around Reels, one is around messaging, and one is around AI. Have to get AI back in there as well. And they're linked as well. So the first up is Reels. We are seeing a huge explosion of short-form content on our platforms that people are putting out there, that people are enjoying. And a lot of that is as a result of AI, really surfacing the things that people want to see. Over half the content that people are actually enjoying now is because is Reels, and that is also because of AI as well. We're also seeing here a real strong uptake when it comes to Reels of creators. You know, there's huge number of Indian creators now that are also working with businesses and creating a whole new economy of itself, which I think is really dynamic and also really exciting. So that's one, Reels. Second area is messaging. I've been here this whole week, and I've been meeting with advertisers and with partners, and they're all talking about how WhatsApp feels like the heart of India. It's at the heart of commerce, it's at the heart of conversations across all different verticals in business in terms of how they're engaging with consumers in new and exciting ways. And India really is leading around the world in how marketers are coming to the platform and using it in new ways. So I think about the Delhi transport system, where you can now find your ticket, book your ticket, and have your code all on your WhatsApp without going anywhere else, having to go to a different app, etc. And the efficiencies that that's creating, I think is really, millions of people now utilizing that every single day. You've got airlines here, Indigo Airlines, where again, similarly, you can book your tickets, you can get your boarding pass, you can be told if there's a flight delay, all within the WhatsApp as well. But it's not just transport. Oh no, I've tried on this week a sari, clicking through into WhatsApp, trying virtually on the different saris and then going and being able to buy if I so desired. It's insurance companies. So many different areas that are coming together. And you can start to imagine now that when you bring AI into the picture, every single one of those businesses is going to have some sort of AI agent as well that is being able to really listen and give much better customer support in terms of having it instantly, having it more personalized. So I think that's a really exciting development as well. And then the final area that I would touch on is the whole Meta Advantage suite of products, which are all powered by AI. And the headline here is that for every rupee that's being invested in Meta platforms, on average we're seeing back 1 rupee 76 back. So this is really strong in terms of the incremental revenue that it's delivering. And what these are the way I think about it is like a series of easy buttons. That if it took you 150 steps before to set up a campaign, find the targeting, get the right creative in, you can actually do it within a moment, one button. And so advertisers are seeing really strong results. I saw the CEO of Flipkart this week and sharing that they're seeing a 3.6 return on revenue as a result of using these Advantage products. So really excited to see some of these results for our advertisers.
You've given me so many cues for questions to ask you, including one about you being a keen reeler yourself. I'll come to that in just a bit. You mentioned the question, however, as far as the return on investment on AI is concerned. That's one question that Wall Street, that the markets across the world are beginning to ask the companies in terms of the investments being made and as how far it's actually contributing to the top line. Is that a question that you find yourself answering to investors?
Yeah, so look, I think it's still too early to say across the board in terms of that, but sharing some of those results in terms of what it's actually doing for the performance of our advertisers that are utilizing our platforms, I think is really exciting. Another exciting area is around generative AI. And we launched in the last year a whole series of generative AI creative products. What does this mean? And this means that an advertiser can go on now, maybe has taken one shot of, let's say it's a bottle, and they might have it as a square ratio. Well, that's not going to work for a reel, or that's not going to work for some of our other formats. But again, now it does, because we can actually stretch the ratios to work. That's one use. Another use case is now that, again, through the generative AI, you can come up with different copy, different headlines, different translations. And then a third area is actually with that bottle there that you can change the different backdrops, and almost an infinite amount of the different backdrops as well. So we're again seeing more and more advertisers utilizing these sorts of tools. And certainly here, when I've been in talking with advertisers this week, every single one of them is using at least one of these products. So that's some of the investment back that we're seeing.
Interesting. Right, Nicola, thanks so much for that insight. But do stay with us. We're heading into a very short break. But we'll continue this conversation with Nicola Mendelsohn on the other side in just a few minutes. We're in conversation with Nicola Mendelsohn. She's the VP of Global Business Group at Meta. She's telling us about insights on the Indian market, how it's panning out, what the revenue looks like, and what the road ahead looks like, especially in context of emerging technologies like AI. Nicola, coming back to you. You mentioned your conversations with Flipkart. I have to ask you this question, that we are well and truly in the midst of the festive season here in India. Flipkart, of course, is central to that conversation. They're looking at big ticket interest from consumers. What about you? When you look at the expectations from the festive season here, from a consumer behavior standpoint, what are your expectations, your predictions?
Yeah, look, I think it's a very exciting time to be here because, you feel the festive season everywhere, and certainly the businesses are really thinking about that. There's a few things, I think. I saw some survey results recently that were saying about over 85% of people here in India have actually discovered something that they discovered something, say, on Instagram, related to the festive season, and then went to purchase. So that's a huge number. Advertisers are aware of that. There's a trend that we're seeing here this year in particular, that the festive season is starting earlier and earlier. We saw also in a survey that less than 5% of people are actually going to buy something now immediately around Diwali. They're actually going to make their purchases a lot earlier. So the key advice here to advertisers is start early. If you haven't started or you're late, get going, get focused now, because your consumers are thinking about it. It's very top of mind across all different types of products. So go early, go early, go early. And I think it's going to be a really exciting Reels first, messaging first festive season this year.
I think at a time when e-commerce is exploding onto the Indian context, I think that's one key word of advice that a lot of retailers will be watching for to go early. Let's come back here as talking about the Indian market. I just wanted to understand from a broader meta perspective, when you look at growth in India, what to your mind appear to be the key drivers? We've seen the first leg of growth driven largely by smartphone explosion. There is cheap data available here. India has a huge appetite for data consumption. What, to your mind, are the drivers that will perhaps drive the next leg of growth in India?
So I think there's a number of different things here. I mean, you have an explosion of people still coming onto the internet in new and in different ways. I think some of the things that we were just talking about when it comes to AI, when we start to see people having, AI assistants at the top of, first of all, Meta AI at the top of everything, I think that's going to empower people to be more productive, to be able to do new things that they hadn't expected to do so. And then messaging. I think messaging really is really exciting in terms of the ability for millions and millions of people to be able to talk to customers to businesses every single day. That's an exciting opportunity as well.
Let's talk about Reels. I wanted to come back to that. You're a reeler yourself. Before we actually dive into the question as to how Reels is panning out for you in the Indian market, I just wanted to ask you, you've been here, second visit since the pandemic, 4 years since Reels. Any interesting handles that you follow here about content coming out of India?
Oh, there's so many things. I mean, when I had an extraordinary moment last time I was here, where I ended up dancing with Ranveer Singh. I was not expecting that to happen. And certainly, I think his is a very exciting, dynamic, I
think that's putting it mildly, the high-energy character that he brings on board.
Yeah, it's phenomenal energy. And last time I saw him, he was all dressed in pink. So
that's interesting.
But there's a lot. Look, there are so many exciting things that are happening in this market. And well, I'm interested to get some tips from you.
Let me get your perspective. When you're talking about Reels, when you're talking about monetizing it from an advertisement perspective, how's that panning out for you? That it's seen exponential success and exponential traction here in the Indian market, would be to put it mildly. There's a huge amount of traction that it managed to gain in India. What about it from an advertisement perspective, from a revenue perspective? What is that looking like for you? And are there any concerns that you have?
So we don't break out the different advertising products in terms of how we're doing from a revenue perspective. What we did share was that our Q2 earnings were very strong, and we were very proud of the results. And I think so much of that was actually driven as a result of the investments that we've made in AI, being able to make sure that we're listening to the needs of advertisers and then giving them the ability to really drive and enhance their performance. So feel really good about that. I think one of the changes that we're seeing with Reels is how much creative work also needs to be created when you're looking to activate and work with the AI as well. So we're seeing more and more businesses actually utilizing more and more creative, creating more reels, some with generative AI, a lot not, and a lot with creators as well. So I think those are some of the things that are changing as a result, as you say, of the explosion of people's enjoyment of the reels format.
Let's talk about some headwinds now. When you're looking at advertisement revenue growth, we've talked about there being a lot of excitement here in the Indian market. A lot of factors which will perhaps act as tailwinds, which will give momentum to Meta. Any concerns? We're looking at uncertain times. We're looking at conflict in the Middle East. There's conflict in Europe. There are conversations being had in the Fed about whether or not and when to relax the rates. What does that mean for global markets? How would you look at these headwinds, these uncertain times?
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I think we do live, since the days of the pandemic, in much more uncertain times from a geopolitical perspective. What I think that's different now is, and that's certainly something that the business leaders are saying to me, they're building uncertainty into their plans. So they don't know what the thing is going to be, but they know there might be something. And so rather in the past where you had one set of plans, some companies have got multiple sets of plans now, and they're pulling levers accordingly. What matters still is growth. Where are you going to find growth from? And what they're telling to me when I'm having those conversations is actually we're a really important place for them to find the growth. We're an important place to find the levers to help them to do the things that they need to do. So we're all in on listening to make sure that we're listening, we're responding, that we're learning together, and ultimately, giving them the growth that they hopefully need.
One aspect on regulation I just wanted to bring in, and this is on the question of privacy versus personalized marketing. You mentioned that business messaging is at the core, is something that Indians appear to have embraced. I just wanted to ask you, how do you balance those concerns? Because there are questions sometimes that are being raised in terms of wanting to customize the content. Are we perhaps, there's a thin veil that we may be in breach of? Is that a challenge that you face?
That's not how we think about it at all. I think actually that you can have privacy and personalization, and they sit very comfortably with each other. People love personalized messaging, and they love personalized marketing because it's relevant to them. And it's relevant to them, and it's also relevant to the business. So much money used to be wasted by businesses and advertisers trying to find the customer. It's much easier to find the customer these days. And of course, from a privacy perspective, we're adhering to any regulations anywhere in the world around this area. That's an important aspect for us. And we make sure that we invest so that people at the heart are in control of the data that they're sharing. And at any point in time, they can go in and they can adjust the privacy settings on our platform in order to say what they do and they don't want to share.
Interesting thoughts. And that brings me to my final question. And this is with respect to the broader conversation about the tech space. Over the last 6 months, people are talking about how there is some amount of stress on the tech companies that is raising question marks, reflecting sometimes even in stock prices. The question I want to ask you is this only a passing phenomena, or are there more structural questions, more systemic questions that you're beginning to see that perhaps need to be addressed by the industry?
So I think judges by what the outputs are, the different, I can't speak for other companies, of course not, but from a Meta perspective, look, we're very focused on making sure that we are investing in the new and the exciting innovations that are coming out, which we've talked about and that we've shared. I've been in the office this week, in our different offices, and there's a huge energy, there's a huge momentum, there's a huge excitement around the direction of the company, the investments that we're making, but also equally the partnerships that we have right here on the ground, from some of the very smallest businesses, the mom and pop businesses, to some of India's largest businesses and everything in between. And we're proud, really proud of the contribution that we're making to the Indian community and to the Indian business community as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that continue.
Nicola, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, but I'll just put across a final question to you. While reading up about you, I saw a few articles that referred to you as perhaps being one of the most influential women in the world of tech. One word that you'd give out to young entrepreneurs here in India, looking to grow, looking to meet those challenges and looking to break the glass ceiling, one message that you'd like to send them?
Well, thank you. Let me have a think. I'll quote Eleanor Roosevelt here, which is, do the things you think you cannot do. Because when you do those things that seem a little bit scary, Those are usually the right things to do because those are the things that are going to empower you, they're going to make you grow yourself, and ultimately will help you grow your business also.
Nicola, it's been engaging, this conversation, which gives us so many insights into how Meta is looking at India. I'd like to thank you for taking out time from what is clearly has been a busy day for you. Thank you once again for being a part of this. That was, of course, Nicola Mendelsohn giving us insight into Meta, its insights on India, on applications of technology, and what this road ahead looks like. I'd like to thank Nicola once again for being a part of this. For more news and updates, keep watching CNBC TV 18.